Hi guys, so welcome to Monday. I'm a little messy here, just got out of the rain. I took the Chevelle out for a drive, got some fresh gas, gonna get ready to actually rebuild the engine here so it can actually run like it needs to. The joy of success, the joy of actually being in tune with yourself so that you can actually do the things you want to do. That's kind of my big goal for you guys here, is to tap into your brilliance, to realize codependency isn't how you need to live life, and that within you is a brilliance, and this brilliance will bring you the happiness, the success, the love that you're seeking. So today, in one of the comments in the group, specifically Sarah's post about being a villain, really inspired this video, and it brings up one of the dualities we experience in codependency. We villainize our goodness, other people villainize our confidence, our assertiveness, but then we also internalize that and make ourselves the problem. It's one of the dark sides that happen in codependency, is we make ourselves the enemy by believing their feedback, and that, to be blunt, is bullshit. See, one of the big crux of codependency is rooted in the lack of self. See, growing up, we did not get the feedback, the reflection that we needed in order to know who we are in relationship to somebody else. Instead, we were controlled, we were manipulated, and we were emptied of ourselves, and then they put shame where love belonged. That allowed them to manipulate and control us. So when you start to advocate for yourself, when you start saying no, when you start drawing a boundary, when you step back or you confront somebody on something that's bothering you or hurting you, and they villainize you for that, they are attempting to manipulate you, trying to get you to give yourself up so they can get what they feel entitled to. That's the real trick here, guys. We are a gift. We are precious. We deserve respect. Ross Rosenberg has a thing called love, care, and respect, LCR. And healthy relationships have a reciprocal experience of love, care, and respect. And if we're not getting LCR, walk away, right? It also lines up with my acronym, attention, reception, and connection. This is how our needs get met. This is how we feel validated. Kelly mentions, let's see. Hi, Kelly. Hi. Yes, I am always the villain for defending myself, learning not to feel the need to do so. There you go. Now, the thing you can do here, Kelly, with the defending of yourself is step back, and rather than assert your boundary and go, hey, you need to change, that's usually what we're doing when we defend, you say, hey, I don't like that. Please don't do it again. And if they don't change, you execute the boundary by walking away. Don't engage proactively with people who deliberately and proactively violate or disrespect that boundary. That way you're training them what you're going to tolerate and what you're not. And they'll get the hint. The narcissistic or toxic person, or the person who feels entitled to our empathy or to our body or to our time or to our attention or to whatever resource they want from us, they're going to throw a tantrum. And when people throw tantrums when you say no, that's your big, huge, massive signal you're dealing with an immature person, and it's best to walk away from it. It is not, you don't need to spend your time in that, right? You've got a life to live. You've got things to do. You'll have love to experience. You have things to accomplish. You have life to do. Don't spend your time trying to fix someone else's feelings about how hurt they are because they didn't get what they felt they were entitled to from you. You're a privilege. Relationship is fundamentally a privilege, so you don't have to accommodate their needs. The only people that have any entitlement to another person are small children. And as children grow up and they become adults, they become autonomized. Autonomized means they are separate and fully self-reliant to take care of their lives. Healthy adults, that's what they do. When they need support, they don't demand it, they don't act entitled to it, they ask for it. People who ask for our time, attention, our affection, our body, our money, or whatever it might be, they're showing an act of respect and kindness towards us, and a value, an appreciation for what they're asking for from us. So that's very important. Asking is an act of love, basically. And it gives us a chance to be served and to serve others. So when we ask somebody for something, we're giving them a chance to be served and to serve too. It's contribution. That's kind of how I look at life, is asking. Life's really about contributing and receiving rather than giving and taking. So, and we don't have to defend ourselves. What we need to do is just assert the clarity of the boundary and then execute the boundary if they persist on defying it. So, anything else there? Anybody else have any thoughts or questions on that before? I know it's not a very long video today, but that really inspired me about this idea of villain. Another thing with this is they're trying to program us to obviously violate ourselves, to give ourselves up. So what we can do here is, the way to get out of the emotional element that comes in with being a villain is to release the shame from it and come into tune with who we are from this point of view. See, we get a chance, we get the choice to choose who we are. We get to decide how we're going to be whatever attribute we're choosing to be. Whether it's love, whether it's confidence, whether it's boredom, whether it's indifference, whether it's anger or sadness, shame, whatever it might be. We have a right to choose how we occupy that space, what we do in that space, and who we're going to be there. And so if you're being labeled as a villain, receive it. Receive that judgment and say, you know, what do I want to be? Am I going to be a rebel? Am I going to be a warrior? Am I going to disappoint you? And I'm going to be okay with it? Because you have a right to disappoint people and not fix it. You have a right to do you and not regulate other people's feelings about you or what your choice was. Because you're an adult. And adults get that right. Because we're autonomous. We don't live for them. They don't live for us. We live for us. And then we contribute to others that love and respect us. So, let go of the shame. And if you have struggles with letting go of shame, definitely get your membership in Codependency to Confidence, because the Heal course in Codependency to Confidence is completely designed to turn that shame into love. That's what it does. And then it gives you this practice that expands you into who you are as certain attributes. I call that embodiment. Also helps you knock out your love addiction. If you're dealing with love addiction, trauma bonding, if you keep going back to the narc, you can't get off of them. It's kind of like they're a drug. You just got to keep doing it. Definitely get your membership and start healing that addiction by meeting the needs that are really in there. That brings up another thing, because I'm kind of like, I do these things impromptu, so I like to just go with the flow. So if I'm going a little fast, you can tell me to slow down or whatnot. But when we're villainized, we are actually expressing a need, and they are expressing a need too. Problem is they're trying to weaponize that need against us and make us responsible for their need. But if we're feeling shame or we're feeling scared by that, then we've got a need that's talking, a need that wants attention. We fill that need, we're going to have a lot larger amount of resilience to people's critical judgments of us, and we can let those judgments go. It's one of the most important things we practice here in being beyond or thriving beyond codependency, is not absorbing judgment, but letting it go and leaving it alone. Let people judge you. Receive judgment without absorbing it. And set yourself free from it. Because you don't have to correct those things. You will still be loved. You will still succeed. You will still have abundance. You will still be safe. Because when we're willing to receive judgment and not absorb it, we just let it go, we're willing to be rejected. And that enables us to be loved. It's a funny, paradoxical thing, but in my own journey out of codependency, that's one of the major ahas I had, is like, the more I'm willing to be judged and rejected, and the more I'm willing to receive that without internalizing it or making it true about myself, the more I can be loved. Because the more I can be me, and then the people who genuinely love and like me show up. A lot of you guys here in the group know me personally, and you've chosen to, one, be a friend, or two, work with me professionally because of how I show up. That principle, I mean, it's very, very real. And you don't have to take my word on it. You get into the course, then you can transform that and find out for yourself how real that is, because you're worth knowing, you're worth loving, you're worth keeping. It's not just my marketing, little tagline. It's a truth that I live from, I teach from. That's what makes my life whole outside of that codependent spectrum. See, because fundamentally all of this is about happiness, it's about love, it's about connection, right? It's about us doing something with our lives that fulfills us. Well, getting out of codependency, then we can be free, we go off and do the things we want. All right, so Elizabeth says sometimes people use their disappointment as a way of shame. Yes, they do. Instead of getting mad, they get sad and then they are disappointed in us. I'm going to embrace that. They get to feel the way they do and I get to be okay with it. Yes, yeah. You don't have to fix it. You don't even have to feel shame about it. You do. Your empathy, by the way, isn't somebody. Nobody's entitled to it. Nobody has a right to your empathy. Nobody. It's a privilege. It's something that you decide to give. So remember the first two rights. And those of you who are new, that are watching this video, there are two rights that I teach. And I teach this in the Thrive Strategy component of Codependency to Confidence. Those two rights. Right number one is the right to occupy space. Elizabeth, you get the right to occupy the space of they get to have their feelings and I get to be fine with it. Yeah, occupy it. Find out who you are in that space. And the second right we have is the right not to care. That doesn't mean we won't care. That doesn't mean there's a lack of empathy. What it means is we get a chance to choose in it. Because a lot of times our empathy is compelled out of us. This idea of being villainized is to get us to change our behavior so that we'll empathize with their feelings or their need, and then we will parent them, where they could go out and grow up and be an adult, as I call them, grown-ass adults, and meet their need in a proactive, healthy fashion. They don't want to. Not our problem. They get to be disappointed. They get to be sad. That's okay. Meh. And even with healthy relationships, that happens. We're going to say no. They're going to be disappointed. That doesn't mean they're narcissistic, by the way. It just means they're disappointed. If they start attacking us or villainizing us or claiming we're selfish or we're harming them in some way, then you've got someone that's emotionally immature, and you need to exercise prudence, clarity, and boundaries on that. Yeah, you don't have to care. Yeah, it is hard to remember. Totally. This is why I reinforce these repeatedly in these videos. A lot of the materials I teach reinforce this over and over and over. Because what's going on is we're leaving a lifestyle of codependency where we shed ourselves so we can absorb others to fix their feelings, right? So we can get love. Ultimately, codependency is a coping mechanism which we use to get love. We're letting go of that lifestyle and we're shifting that over to the assertive lifestyle, the brilliance lifestyle, where we're advocating for ourselves, where we're asking for what we need. We're becoming available to receive it and feel it. Very backwards to our codependent experience, right? And so it's going to be hard because there's mindset to deal with, there's heart set, and then there's action set. And that's what I address in all of these teachings, especially in the membership. And if you want to go really deep in that, then you can get your seat for Being You Brilliantly that starts this coming June. So, but the idea, the whole thing, I mean, we're moving the Titanic away from the iceberg. And we're making a really big change. So be patient with yourself. There's a lot of gears, a lot of factors playing into this. So remember, you have the right to not to care, and you have the right to occupy the space you're in. And then, if somebody calls you a villain, then you get the right to choose what that means for you. Do you even agree with it? Do you care? I mean, I've been villainized over the last 2 months by people who are really upset with me for how I define healthy relationships. And these people are like, man, you're really, really hard on these people. And I'm like, yeah, if you behave in toxic ways, you don't deserve a relationship. You deserve therapy. Go out and get therapy. Nobody needs to stay with you because you act like a 3-year-old. People aren't entitled to relationships. They're not a right. They're a privilege. They get to live with it because people are not objects. We are not objects. We are valuable. We're lovable. We are worth knowing, worth keeping, and worth loving. So we are making those big shifts here. Okay. Thank you guys for commenting. Nice to see you, Melissa. Yep, the right not to care. Yep. Practice it. Again, this is a big change. You don't have to absorb it all. That's why I repeat these things. Allow yourself to go through it. Get your membership. The link is in the comments and in the post description. And then start the course and do it over and over. Most people do it 2 to 3 times to really, really root it down. And Codependency, the system has heal, addiction to connection, and then thrive strategy. And that's where we heal is all about changing shame into love. Addiction to connection roots us out of the addiction we have to the narcissist, gets our needs met. And then thrive strategy gives us the skills we didn't get growing up. So I teach you how to have friendships, how to develop relationships, how to say no, how to say yes, how to know what you want, how to know what a boundary is, how to execute it, how to communicate them, what your real power is, what you're responsible for, what you're not, all that. The real basics we should have gotten as children, right? And when you're done with that, you're invited to join Being You Brilliantly, where you master the core skills of knowing who you are and then creating the life you want. So if you guys have questions about that, just post them below or in the group or PM me personally, and I'd be glad to talk with you about that. Appreciate you guys for being here. We have grown. We're going to start growing some more. We've got some more promotions going on. We're out here to kick some butt, change the world. I appreciate your support in this, guys. And go out there. Be a villain. Advocate for yourself. Stand up for you, because you're worth it. And then let's explore what you start to discover in your life. Okay? I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Have a good night, guys. Bye-bye.